All right, we're back. It's time to look at what the papers are saying this morning. We have, of course, joining us usual guest on Monday mornings, Opunabo Inko Tariah, joining us right there from Port Harcourt, River State. Miss Inko Tariah, nice to have you. Good morning.
My pleasure, Kofi. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. Indeed, Port Harcourt and River State is really like taking a lot of attention as far as the politics of 2023 is concerned. And of course, the governorship elections are around the corner. Before we delve into what the papers are saying this morning, I want you to just give me a sense of what's happening in Port Harcourt, where some would say they saw something close to, if not daylight robbery, on Saturday in the presidential election.
It wasn't anything close to daylight robbery, as you want to put it. It was daylight robbery. The rule of Rivers people were frequently subverted in connivance with government officials, both in Rivers State and INEC officials. And the major architect of it all is the INEC chairman, because the ball stops at his table, and his reactions in terms of in words and in deeds have come to show that he was highly compromised before that election. What we have is a stolen victory. Well, a lot of them said they will subject it to the clinical prognosis of the legal lab. They will wait for the outcome. But I can tell you, Kofi, my brother, that was a very sad day in the history. We've never had an election as bad as that. Not even the Morris Wu election. If you have to make a comparison, Morris Wu had 70%. I think I'm talking about the two elections, while Mahmoud Yakubu has 20%. It was all architecture to fail, to read. And I'll tell you, I think I discussed this with you and on sister stations. Despite the suffering and hardship Nigeria faced as a result of the change of Naira, INEC got money when it complained from CBN. I'm talking of just in the wee hours of the election election. Now, INEC got about 36 billion. If you look at it, in Lagos State, they hired Tinubu's loyalists to transport materials until the court stopped it. You don't need anybody to tell you that you cannot get an interested party to function on behalf of INEC. You don't need anybody to tell you. But they did it. Now, if you go to Yola, how can you explain that a collation center does not have generator and they are collating at night? Now, if you also come to River State, the Ogoni areas, what did the INEC ask? You have to publish the names of the officials 48 hours at a time. In Ogoni, local government area, because of their numerical strength, the names were published on the eve of the election. And most of them were PDP members. If you come to Ebokpo, even though CJ Okocha, SAN, said, call for the cancellation. You see, the social media is everywhere. Because he said it was mad by the night. He could not even vote. How do you explain a situation where the POs don't even have inks? No ink. How do you explain a situation where you had 1 year to prepare for the election? Where even INEC officials and some ad hoc staff could not transport themselves to their various destinations. They arrived at night and appealed to the people to move the election to the next day, the people said, no, you must conduct the election. Because they understood why they came late. It has nothing to do with logistics. Nothing. It was a deliberate act. How do you explain a situation in Lagos where people, party faithfuls, especially the APC members, because we saw that same Tinubus man. Now it's not because of allegation. You have evidentiary proof. You can see it, the video is there. How do you explain that situation where he moved around with police and was intimidated, which is an infraction in the electoral? How do you explain, Joe, where a policeman in Rivers State was seen carrying ballot boxes? It went viral. Carrying ballot, policeman carrying, I've called for, he's even supposed to have retired. The sack of the federal, I told you that man is a conflicted fellow. What has happened to the policeman? What are you trying? It's there, the evidence is there. So what are you trying? What are you trying? By now, we should, at least Nigerians would have been briefed on the steps taken against that policeman. Policeman, how do you explain that?
Well,
how do you explain the situation where,
yes.
The last one, I know. How do you explain the situation where the server works, the beavers work for National Assembly and failed to work same day for the presidency? And it is mandatory that you have to compare the results with what you have in the beavers before you announce. How come you started announcing? Where did you get the authentication from? Because it is required, it's a sequence. You must verify with the beavers. So if the beavers is not working, how did you get the result? You think they're talking to fools?
Yeah, so for Rivers State, it's quite a paradox that, the All Progressives Congress that has never won an election on a large scale, in the state. Well, 2015, they won 1 or 2 seats at the State House of Assembly, had maybe a National Assembly. I'm not sure they had a National Assembly, but in 2019, nothing. So it's such a paradox that the APC has become all of a sudden so popular, at least for the national election in Rivers State, even in places like Oyigbo, local government.
It's simple.
That's number one, sir. Sorry, sir. That's number 2, that 2 days or 3 days ago, the National Assembly results were released by INEC, and the PDP swept all. So I don't know. Such a paradox. People.
This was the same INEC. This was the same INEC chairman, INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, that raised an alarm that his life has been threatened and suspended the result. Now I'll tell you what happened. The governor is at war with Atiku Abubakar. That's why I said it cannot even stand the test of it. If they go to court. And we're waiting for the Supreme Court justices and pray that the rule of law will not be caged and administration of justice around be subverted as they do in justice. Like in the case of Lawan, Akpabio, and so on. I will just pray, because this might lead the country to anarchy. Now, to answer your question, there was a super injunction. What is a super injunction? The super injunction is when you instruct people to do something and also instruct them not to let the world know that you've instructed them to do it. In the case of Rivers State, Governor Yesom Wike ordered all local governments. He did not just order, he threatened to sack them if they don't deliver balloting. That was what happened. Now, in the National Assembly election, Wike is a PDP man, and those are his cronies, those are his candidates. Like you rightly said, a paradox. Because ordinarily, if they vote for APC at the presidential election. It is given that the National Assembly members will be APC. The members elect will be APC. It is given. So what he did was, I will deal with Atiku in Rivers State, which he has always, and instructed them to vote for Tinubu. But for the National Assembly, they should vote for PDP. Like I said on the sister station, I said I hope he's also going to instruct them that they should vote for APC for governorship. So you can see that the whole thing was just orchestrated. It was a plot against Atiku himself. I am not saying this because I believe Atiku would have won. In my honest opinion, the man who won Rivers State was Tinubu. Neck to neck with Atiku. But Tinubu, he swept Obiakpo, swept Fada, swept almost all the local governments. Then the next, Atiku. Those figures you see are conjured.
Funny story, Opunabo. Funny story, Opunabo. Funny story. Because you said that the governor gave a super injunction. I think last time you said a memo to local government chairman to deliver.
Yes, that's the same thing as super injunction.
But a reporter, I think I said this, I didn't go into details last time, but a reporter who I spoke to the day after the election, the Monday, said that the local government chairman for Falga, you know, the collation officer, or the returning officer, for Falga, did not return with the results for 2 days. You know, so it took 2 days for the results from Port Harcourt to arrive Port Harcourt, whilst the ones from places like Tai and places like Asai Toro or Izila Toro had arrived. It took 2 days for the results. So she had to make a distress call of sorts to the CP, and the CP himself left the INEC Collation Center to go bring her. Apparently, it seems that either she stood her ground and as regards to the pressure to remix, let's say remix, to remix the results, or maybe supporters of a particular political party suspected to be either the Labour Party or PDP refused to allow her remix the result. I'm not sure of which. But the reporter says that when she was brought in by the CP, that the local government chairman of Falga followed them there, even though he didn't have accreditation to be at the place, went in, it was panting, it was shaking, you know, it was sweating, you know, was frantically trying to see what was going on, see what could be done. So I'm now putting one and two together. Maybe the dread of the response or the reaction by, you know, the governor, if what you said, the super injunction is anything to go by. We heard he was really frantically, you know, pacing and sweating and shaking, according to the reporter who spoke to me. But I think last question I have to ask you is maybe one of the last ones is regarding River State. The governor of River State invited the Igbo community in River State for a meeting. I don't know if they showed up. The reports are here that they didn't show up. I think yesterday or so, he was sighted at Ikoku spare parts market, somewhere there under the rain, talking to a few of the traders, you know, maybe trying to encourage them this time to support not the broom, but the umbrella in the governorship elections. What are your thoughts on that? Just very quickly.
I think with the Igbos, it's going to be an exercise in futility. Look, there is bewildering frustration and corroding bitterness in the land across the length and breadth of this. People are paid. Because for the first time people came out in their numbers, we recorded the highest number of voters. They had faith in the election based on the beavers and Jigat's reassurance. Sorry, I couldn't say it. Yakubu's reassurance. Yes. And Yakubu's reassurance. All we got was a high blood pressure, deceptive rhetoric, and an enemy of concrete opinions. And the world knows that it was actually a race between the Labour Party and the PDP. I can tell you that. APC was never in the equation. If a PDP man had won, they would have said, okay, no, we would have looked at it, taking issues under advisement is okay. If Labour had won, to probably not the APC. Look at the hardship Nigerians are going through. Not the APC. The APC is like a leper to Nigeria. Look at even the Supreme Court judgment on the Naira. The president is silent. He taciturn because he's angry why the Supreme Court will have to be involved in this matter. But the Supreme Court has jurisdiction over anything. If the Supreme Court says, Kofi, you're a woman, you're a woman. From that, you cannot say you're a man. If you go
I doubt
you're a man.
Opunabo,
No,
I doubt with all this I doubt with all this my biabia, the Supreme Court will ever rule that I'm a woman.
No, the point I'm making is when they have reasons to, if they have cause to, Kofi will announce, and it remains that way. If you go to fill a form and you write gender, you put male, you're going in because the Supreme Court has said you're a woman. So only God can say, but we all know that you're a man. I'm talking of the cloud, the powers, the gravitas of the Supreme Court. Any other court can be overruled by the Supreme Court. But Supreme Court can only be overruled by God. And most times in heaven. Most times not on earth. That's the part. So now, the point I'm trying to make, my dear brother, if he likes, he knows he's approaching people. Why is he not calling on the Hausas? Why not on Yoruba? He's approaching the Igbo because he knows that he robbed them. He robbed the Igbos. Daylight robber. So what he's trying to do is placate, ingratiate himself. Don't you know that they are bitter, they are variant. That's what he's trying to do. How do I placate them? That's all.
All right.
And that's why he's reaching out to the
community.
And
yeah.
If there is no rehash of what happened at the presidential election, it will be a dinosaur experience, my brother. Because it will be a payback time. A lot of people, even those who ordinarily would have voted for him, wonderful character.
Okay. All right. We have to look at what the papers are saying. I'm told we have a lot more time with you today. That's why I'm bringing some of these things in so that we can have a lot more.
You don't have because quarter past I'm off.
I'm told we have a lot more time. Let's quickly, just very quickly, before I look at the first paper. There's a projection by SBM Intelligence that says that the PDP will win the governorship election in Rivers State. They've projected. They've looked at some factors, and I mean, if we must be honest, yeah, there's a projection. There's a projection by SBM Intelligence that says the People's Democratic Party. They've done some research, and they've said the People's Democratic Party will win the election, the governorship election in Rivers State. That's what they've said. They have their parameters, but I think we can agree with them. I don't know if you agree, because I mean, if I must be honest, some of those candidates in the National Assembly elections a couple of Saturdays ago are really popular, you know, and usually they have a large support in their home, you know, their home constituency, you know. Okay, I think we've lost Opunabo Inko Tariah here. It's as a network challenge. We'll throw on your screen now the leadership newspaper that has the following headline: lobbying for appointments in Tinubu's presidency begins. And I don't know what I'm doing here. I need to talk to Loretta, see if I can have some time off to go lobby as well. But lobbying for appointments in Tinubu's presidency begin. The riders to that, we want 50% slots. We want 50% slots. Give us FCT minister, natives tell president-elect. That's one battle that has been on for some time now. The FCT natives, you know, the native communities wanting to produce the minister of the FCT. I don't know if that is something that sits well with the rest of Nigerians. Northeast leaders call for broad-based government. Serve all Nigerians who voted for you, Ekiti APC. Serve all Nigerians who voted for you. Okay, how does that sit with you? Serve all Nigerians who voted for you. But all Nigerians didn't vote for the president-elect. So when you say serve all Nigerians who voted for you, it's like you are saying something and then taking it away in the same sentence. I think it should be serve all Nigerians, period. But more from the leadership. Resist injustice, serve Nigerians, Oshibajo tells clerics. All right, while some are telling the president-elect to serve all Nigerians who voted for him, the vice president is telling men of God to serve Nigerians and to resist injustice. How will they resist injustice? Are they going to go on the streets? Will they keep preaching and shouting truth to power? Gunmen killed DPO, a village head in Zamfara, Kano. Sad one with the picture of the DPO, a very, very sharp, smart, and handsome police officer. It is heartbreaking to see. More from the leadership. PMB urges Chadian factions to support transition program. That's the statesman side of Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari. FG can generate 10 trillion naira from fuel and forex subsidies removal. FG can generate 10 trillion naira from fuel, forex subsidies removal. Okay, it's what the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise is saying. But I'm sure if we refine it in the country, they would actually generate more money than this 10 trillion naira. How about that? All right. Rejection of election results by politicians not new. Yakasa is saying that. Details on page 8. Naira redesign, CBN, direct CBN to obey Supreme Court order, Serap tells PMB. We talked about that on page 10. But you had our guest analyst this morning, Opunabo Inko Tariah, say that after the Supreme Court, it's God. So does the president need to tell the CBN whether to obey the Supreme Court order or not? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Obasanjo blames politicians for food crisis in Nigeria, page 10. All right, has he moved on already? Very interesting indeed. Some of the headlines on the front page of leadership. You can see Mr. President, a very nice picture there. Muhammadu Buhari with the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. You have the Foreign Affairs Minister, Secretary to the Government of Federation, Boss Mustafa, Environment Minister in Doha, Qatar, for the 5th United Nations Conference on Least Developed Countries. This was at the weekend. So the President is already out. Indeed, he's out with almost half his cabinet. Well, not half, but a sizable amount members of his cabinet. It's quite interesting. And we look forward to good news from this conference. But isn't this a conference that we should be feeling not too good to attend, when you are described as least developed? You shouldn't be too proud to attend such a conference. You should actually attend it with a frown on your face. To be called least developed is not a palatable thing, But anyway, let's move on to another paper. I do not know if we have Opunabo Inko Tariah back with us on the line. Okay, we don't have him back. The Nation newspaper has the following headlines. On the front page, the big story, Tinubus Pledge to Nigerians, I will not disappoint you. I will not disappoint you is what the president-elect is saying. Of course, he made a triumphant return to his base state of Lagos, where he paid a visit to the traditional ruler and monarch of Lagos State, amongst others. And you can see a picture of Ashiwaju, a victorious Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu with the Obas right there. And he says, my certificate of return is a World Cup trophy. All right, my certificate of return is a World Cup trophy. And I'm sure lots of congratulations going his way. I'm sure what he's trying to say is that when you go to the World Cup and you win it, you return home, for a trophy tour, taking it around, important places and presenting it to important people. So what he's saying is that is a World Cup trophy he has brought home. He's also thanking Nigerians for voting for him, assuring that he will not disappoint them. But the fact is that majority of Nigerian voters rather, who turned up on the election day, did not vote for him. So he has a lot of work to do to win them over, and to convince them that he will do the job. It's not the first time it's happened in a number of countries around the world where more people, didn't vote for you, and you have to do a lot to just convince them and all that. All right, more from the nation. Nigeria's debt hits 50 trillion naira. If you keep thinking about the debt profile of the country, you might give yourself a headache. Sometimes it's good to glance over such headlines so you don't think about it too much, because it doesn't make sense, really. Moving from a country that was able to accomplish debt forgiveness, in the days of Obasanjo, with the deals with the Paris Club and all that, to this is quite a fall from grace. Nigeria's total public debt portfolio now stands at about 48.93 trillion, with the government borrowing about 3.73 trillion over the past 5 months. Okay, the entire public debt portfolio stands at about 48.93 trillion. But in the past 5 months, the government has borrowed about 3.73 trillion. And of course, this is a nation and a government now sadly has to borrow to fund its budget. So you can imagine being the head of a household, you have to give madam some money to go to the market to buy food for cooking. You have to also save some money for yourself, portion money to go to the grocery store to buy food. You have to pay children's school fees. Now, for all these things, you have to borrow, a sizable amount, maybe let's say 50%, for instance. Now, how are you going to survive on that? Because you're simply digging yourself into a hole. Is this sustainable? Well, the economists will tell you that we have not yet hit the threshold, and it's sustainable for now. Let's move on. Parties realign ahead of Saturday's governorship poll. What the nation is saying is that political parties are realigning ahead of Saturday's governorship election. Groups of political leaders are endorsing candidates. They've come again. Results of presidential National Assembly elections have altered the plans of candidates, leading to alliance talks. The paper says this was the case in Oyo, Kwara, Ogun, Rivers, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, and Delta State. In Lagos State, the paper says alliance talks between the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Labour Party, LP, were made public. All right. I don't know how true this is, because both candidates have not publicly acknowledged that, said they will merge. But this is what the paper is saying, that they're having talks. Okay. So who is going to step down for who is the question. In Adamawa State, we have the LP candidate also said to be dropping his ambition. So this is quite interesting, and all this is because we see the results of the presidential and National Assembly elections. Do we have Opunabo Inko Tariah back on the line? Okay, I'm told, okay, we do not have him yet. Okay, yeah, we apologize for that. We apologize for that. Okay, more from the nation. Man, 26, riding bicycle from Katsina to congratulate Tinubu in Lagos. I've been asking about these people since before the election. Where are the people who are working for the various candidates? Well, I thought we were going to be relieved of this, but we're seeing that they're popping up again, as usual. Man must whack. But I wonder why this gentleman is riding a bicycle. I thought the in thing was to walk. I mean, it should walk now. Anyway, those are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Another one, obey Supreme Court judgment on Naira now. Legal giant tells Buhari PDP leaders to picket INEC over results, poll results. A rainstorm destroys 105 houses in a Ekiti community. Sometimes the citizens want to see these political parties not just picketing government offices because of politics, but also to do so, especially parties in the opposition, to do so when, it has to do with things that directly affect the common man. Yes. When it comes to your party's political fortunes, you're on the streets. You're declaring a black dress day, or is it black shirt day? Then you expect people to join you to fight. But when it comes to the things that affect the common man, where are you? Opposition parties, where are you? Where have you been before now? All right, let's move on to another paper. This time the Punch. The headlines on the front page of the Punch: presidential poll, PDP governors, leaders to protest at INEC today. PDP governors, leaders to protest at INEC today. And the writers to that: PDP insists election flawed, APC urges peaceful demonstration, residents fear unrest, hoodlums hijack, and police promise protection. All right, let's see how that pans out. Of course, our cameras will be there to cover it for you. And of course, the window captions at the top of the front page of the Punch newspaper. The first one there: Akpabio, Kalu, others begin battle for Senate presidency. Fuel, FX, subsidies removal will save the federal government 10 trillion naira, report. Observers demand Rex prosecution for alleged sabotage. All right. Well, the INEC chairman, like you heard in our top trending, is saying INEC staff are being banned. But someone is reminding him that there's a wreck or two who need to be looked at as well. Okay, Whitney, this is the story of a Lagos student, a schoolgirl who died during a school activity. And the paper is saying Lagos alleges lapses. That is the Lagos state government alleging lapses with the school, saying Chrisland remains shut. All right, and that's at least the second time a Christian school has been in the news for not too good reasons. Prepare for severe flooding, NEMA warns Nigerians. Prepare for severe flooding. NEMA warns Nigerians. We've not even recovered from the last flooding. We're approaching slowly the rainy season. Last time it rained and the floods were all over the country, it wasn't really in the thick of traditional rainy season. Okay? This time we're approaching the main rainy season, and NEMA is saying Nigerians should be aware. What are the authorities doing to protect the country? I mean, the president from the committee to look into flooding issues to ensure that there's a plan in place to avert the kind of flooding we saw in Nigeria, sometime earlier this year, late last year. What has been the result of that committee? Will another committee be formed if we have these floods that, like Nema is talking about? I mean, we need to see government being proactive. It's very important to save lives and properties as well as livelihoods. More from the Punch. Soldiers shoot a 15-year-old boy, keke operator, dead in Lagos. For those watching who don't know what keke is, that's what we call the rickshaw taxi in Nigeria. Soldiers shoot 15-year-old boy, keke operator, dead in Lagos. Really sad. Details on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch. Tinubu visits Oba Akiolu, promises not to disappoint. That's the Oba of Lagos. Like he said in one of the papers we earlier read, this certificate of return is a World Cup that he has brought home to Lagos, and you can see him flashing it right there. Congratulations to Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. All right, so those are stories on the front page of Punch. We'll take a last one. This one happens to be a new one that we've been bringing on our program. It's called The National Economy. And we see some business stories on the front page of The National Economy. Quite interesting. Tinubu, tough choices to rebuild Nigeria's battered economy. And the paper is really digging deep into what faces or what the task lies ahead for Nigeria's president-elect if he's able to survive the legal storm that is approaching. Powering Nigerian economy through methanol fuel production technology. It's an interesting read there. Why 23 billion euro Nigeria-Morocco gas project is facing regional rivalry hitches, and those are some stories. Also an important one, genetically modified food, whose business, whose health. We have those products popping up in parts of the country, indeed, even by government policy. Someone was telling me a couple of weeks ago, talking about healthy living, that even the beans that they cook in Nigeria today, before you take an hour, a long time, let's say, to cook beans, now in a short time it's soft. They feel that something is all right with the beans. But I mean, genetically modified foods are here, they're in the country. In fact, some government policy is also backing them. But are they healthy for our consumption is what I'm sure this paper is looking at. It should make an interesting read, and we need to talk about it some more. Talking about the currencies and the current exchange rates, you can see the paper there saying the US dollar is buying at 436 naira 11 kobo, selling at 437 naira 11 kobo. The pound sterling 490 naira 44 kobo buying, and 491 naira 57 kobo selling. You have the euro 426 naira 64 kobo buying, and 427 naira 62 kobo selling. The exchange rate as of 3rd March 2023. Rate of inflation, looking at the comparison between 2021 and 2022. For 2022, June you have 16.82%, 19.64%. In August 2022, 20.52%. You see year on year, it's quite a gap. It's quite a gap, and we hope for the best. All right, there are also commodity prices there. The paper says Brent is selling at $84.71 to the barrel. Gold is going for $1,836.35 an ounce. It's quite interesting times for those who are trading in gold. Silver, $20.90 an ounce, and gas, of course, going for $2.78. Those are the commodity prices on the front page of the National Economy. Quite an interesting read, if you ask me. All right, hoping we could have gotten Opunabo Inko Tariah on to do his analysis till 1:15. But the network hasn't been too great. We apologize for that. We'll take a break, and when we return, we delve into our first major conversation. Brain drain in the health system in Nigeria. Please stay with us.